Noswaith dda to another episode of the NFL Cymru Podcast with myself, Dyfed Cynan Guto Williams. This is our second episode this week because we're going to continue to recap Superbowl 59 between the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. What are we on now? Day 4, and we're going to continue to dissect the happenings of a truly epic game, a shocking result, maybe some people would say, and we're gonna delve a little bit deeper into that. For those of you who watched our Super Bowl recap on Monday, thank you very much for your support. If you haven't, please watch it. It's on either YouTube or Spotify. Just look up NFL Cymru and you will find us. So we had an Eagles fan on Monday, Johan Furnham. He is an O-lineman himself for the Swansea Titans. And let's just say that he was a very, very happy bunny. So we thought we'd bring another special guest from the other side of town, let's just say a Kansas City Chiefs fan, probably Wales's biggest Kansas City Chiefs fan. You've heard his voice before. Those of you who are watching, following us right at the beginning of the NFL Cymru Podcast, going back to the preview episode of the first game of the 2024 season between the Chiefs and the Ravens. He is, of course, my dad, Geraint Cynan. Noswaith dda. Croeso nôl i'r pod, Dad.
Diolch yn fawr, Dyfed. Thanks very much indeed. And I'm just so relieved in many ways that I haven't had to give the victory speech that I know would have made it very difficult for you. Having said that, it's probably, I've never felt so deflated after a defeat. I think it's part and parcel of the fact that, you know, we knew that we were going for history, and that would have rewritten the whole history of the game. You know, the fact that this franchise would have won 3 in a row, and to be perfectly honest, I don't think it'll ever rear its ugly head again. I think, you know, it was the one opportunity. But that's the one thing that really does great more than anything else, is thinking what could possibly have been. And I could say, you know, this franchise and this team deserved it, but they didn't rise to the occasion.
Yeah, Guto, we were saying kind of like as us as neutrals, even though I said I picked the Chiefs to win and I wanted the Chiefs to win, like you said, Dad, just to see a team making history, it would have been brilliant to see a team doing the three-peat. Never been done before. But I don't know about you, Guto, and it's, what are we on, day 4 now, post Super Bowl 59, and I can still feel a little bit shell-shocked about what happened, because everything just went so off script. How was it watching for you, Guto? Like you said, as a neutral and 4 days on, do you still have that kind of that feeling?
Yeah, first of all, Geraint, great to have you on the podcast. Thank you for joining, and condolences for your loss. I know how that feels, losing a Super Bowl. We're on day 4. I predicted the Chiefs as well, to be honest. I was predicting that they would do a 3-peat. I think anybody who predicted the Eagles did not expect it to be a one-sided game. So I think that's the shock of it. It's a big shock, not just in the NFL, but in any sports. You don't see 2 top teams go into a final like that. One team is being absolutely deflated with history in their grasp, really. So it was a massive shock, and I still look back to it and I just keep wondering what went wrong for the Chiefs. I'm still looking at the finer details, but there could be a couple of factors on there. But it is still a shock to us, really. Even my friends who came over to watch it, they still can't believe how much of a one-sided game it was for the Eagles. They just made it look so easy.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the bigger picture here. If you're a Chiefs fan, you've been to 5 Super Bowls in the last 6 years and you've won 3. So that's a pretty good record. However, the manner of the defeat, like you were saying, well, the both of you really, that's, I guess, what's the sting, the feeling of the sting and the bitterness is still there in the mouth. And I guess it'll probably stay there for a while. However, I put this loss to one side when you look at the other loss against Tampa, obviously you had other elements. You had a lot of injuries. It was a completely different team. The O-line was completely depleted at that point. The Chiefs were relatively healthy, I'd say, in this Super Bowl. I know you had a few changes, last-minute changes on the O-line as well, with Joe Tooney moving from guard to tackle, and you had a brand new tackle come in there. But then again, that O-line played against the Bills 2 weeks prior and dealt with a really, really good Bills D-line as well. So, Dad, let's delve into it. What were the main things that you took out of that? Where realistically do the Chiefs go? Because they've got a list of free agents coming up very, very shortly. So we'll have a look at that very, very shortly. But where do the Chiefs realistically go from here?
Well, I don't think, I think there's been such an outcry on social media, especially, that this is the end of the dynasty and the Chiefs won't be the same, etc. And all of that. I don't believe that at all. I think this was just one bad day in the office where everything happened, all the elements that needed to happen for the house of the cards to fall in happened. It meant the O-line was completely and utterly wrecked. I think that probably calls into question a little bit Andy Reid's decision to go with moving Tooney across and then bringing Caliendo in as a dep. You said that they performed exceptionally well against Buffalo. That's true, but then that did actually give Vic Fangio plenty of tape for them to drive a coach and horses through. But more than anything else, I think the majority of it was, it looked to me as though the weight of history was very, very, very heavily on the shoulders of many of those offensive linemen, and even Travis Kelce had his worst game ever. I think he hardly blocked. He missed loads of incredibly important blocks, and just wasn't himself. So I think even he, for example, might have felt the occasion. There's everything that needed to go right for the Eagles did. It was, they executed the game plan superbly. Their star players all played to an exceptionally high level, and then the Chiefs players didn't. And a few of them really sort of fell well below what we would expect them. And probably, I think the one thing that shook the fan base more than anything else was seeing Patrick Mahomes come down from his Superman status and actually start panicking in places, especially early on in the game, which is what most of the other quarterbacks in his field do, but he never does. And it was strange. I think there was a lot of questioning about, when did you believe that the whole thing was over? And it was sort of split between the first interception that Mahomes threw, but a lot of them felt that it was over as soon as DeAndre Hopkins dropped that absolutely makeable ball, and you just realised, okay, well, nothing is going right for us tonight. One of our most dependable wide receivers in open field with plenty of room to run, and at least we've started to change the momentum, and it didn't. And you just thought, okay, it's going to be one of these nights.
Yeah. I mean, the thing that's what shocked me the most, really. It's just so unlike the Chiefs and so unlike an Andy Reid-led team to basically turn up to a war with a penknife. As if it's like they weren't prepared. The only thing that I would ask you then, what would you have done differently with the O-line? What else could Andy Reid have done realistically?
No, I understand. I think he was probably up against the wall, and Tooney has played exceptionally well across the line. Wherever he's been, he's such a dependable, and he's going to be one of the major players, one of the major names that we want moving forward. But he needs to be moved back to his proper place. I think it's unfortunate in that Andy Reid has it had so many recollections of and repercussions of what happened in the Tampa loss in the Super Bowl, but at least then we had Mahomes on one leg, and there were other mitigating factors. Whereas this time, I don't think he can be. I don't think he can be blamed that much for what happened from that point of view. It's just that I don't know. I think I've got a feeling that he's won 3 Super Bowls in different ways, and I think he probably thought we can win anyway, and because this has been the Chiefs season in a nutshell. We haven't played well in any of the games. We haven't played to the potential then in any games, but we won most of the games that we did. Even the loss away to the Bills, you could probably say the only thing that stopped that being a potential win was the fact that the team was absolutely out on his feet by then, because it was just the week before the bye week. I wonder whether he got hoodwinked into thinking, well, we can actually win not playing well. We can win by the defense stepping up. And if the defense doesn't step up, then we've got these wonder players who can pick up, that particular one game-changing play that keeps us ahead. And I wonder whether he slightly underestimated as well the fact that, as I said, earlier, for the Eagles to win in any fashion, I think their game plan had to work 100%, and it had to have their players executed to the nth degree, and that did happen. And I just wonder whether he thought, oh well, we're invincible, we can do this kind of stuff. His in-game management and changes that are usually quite apparent weren't working. And then again, as I said, I think that more than anything else, I think this group of guys, they just were, until it was too late, and then suddenly they said, hell, let's go for it. They loosened up. And they weren't loose until then. And you could see that there wasn't the go forward, there wasn't the intensity. The defense, to be fair, they gave everything, and they tried to get everybody back. But sadly, it was not to be.
Yeah, I agree.
I wanted to pick up.
Yeah. I agree with you.
Sorry.
No, it's okay. I pointed out in the last episode, the first drive that the Kansas City had, and it was on 3rd down, that Mahomes took a bit of a tackle, and I think it's the way that his head dropped on the floor. I'm not saying he got it doesn't sound like he had a specific injury or anything, but I think from that on, he just, every time his face was on the main camera, he just looked very flustered to me, I think, and it just wasn't working with his teammates or anything, and especially Travis Kelce as well. There was some drives that he was just walking. I was speaking to my dad about it on the way here, actually, and he kind of rewatched the game, and he thought Travis Kelce, he didn't really turn up to play at all, to be honest with you. Funny fact about Travis Kelce, actually, he actually did break the record for the most catches in Super Bowl history with 35 catches. He actually broke Jerry Rice's record. So even though he didn't turn up, he did 2 or 3 catches to break the record. So, but yeah, they didn't really turn up. And like Geraint mentioned, they loosened up a little bit in the 3rd or 4th quarter. They got a couple of touchdowns and stuff, but ultimately, Philadelphia, they had the better game plan. I think their defense was more focused on Saquon Barkley, which they did an okay job on. Obviously, Saquon Barkley, he had his little 10-yard runs, but obviously he likes to run the whole field. He didn't get a chance to really do that, but stopping him from he got his 10 yards here and there. But that just left A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith so open for their touchdowns. So just the fact that they were just so open, you don't really see that from the Chiefs. They've not had the best season, but they're a lot smarter than that. So something didn't work for them. It didn't click during it's the biggest game, and maybe the occasion got to them. Definitely.
Yeah, you just hope, because I'm a massive Travis Kelce fan, and I know, Dad, you are as well. I just really hope that he doesn't go out like this. He's too good of a player, and I really hope that he doesn't, because there's been some quiet whispers that he's contemplating retirement. Well, he's come out, actually. He said that on his pod with his brother, that he's contemplating retirement. And I get it, because let's be honest, looking back at his last two regular seasons have been quiet by his standards. But the one thing that we all love about Kelce, especially happened last off-season, he came alive in the playoffs, and he was absolutely unguardable at times. However, maybe, I don't know, I'm not sure maybe the game is catching up with him. He is, what is he? He's almost 35, I think, now, and he didn't perform. I think he did get over 100 yards in the Texans game, in the divisional game. Didn't do anything in Buffalo against Buffalo, and like you said, really, really disappointed from him in the Super Bowl as well. So, I really hope that we see him that he'll want his redemption. If I know Kelce's personality, I doubt that he'll want to go up like that. But Dad, I just wanted to say just quickly about Guto mentioned on the defensive side there. To be fair, we've got to give Spagnuolo his flowers here, because the first two drives they managed to stop the Eagles. Like you said, they limited the Eagles to less than 100 yards rushing, which clearly, like you said, potentially left the sides of the field open to the wide receivers who are really, really good with a deep ball. But then again, you have to look at the Eagle side as well, and you have to give Vic Fangio his flowers as well, because it was a masterpiece from him. Clearly, maybe, like he said, he looked at the Buffalo tape and he saw, and let's be honest, they've got the depth, they've got the roster on that D-line with their linebackers and their safeties to be able to execute that game plan as well.
Very much so. Vic Fangio's 0-8 against Andy Reid teams and against Mahomes before then. He's always had very good defenses in Denver, and of course we played them twice a year. I'm well used to sort of seeing his well-coached defensive teams come up against us, but Andy Reid's always found a way of getting past him quite easily, and Mahomes seems to really, really, really enjoy playing, especially in Denver. But I think I just do feel that it's the old adage, isn't it? Every dog has his day. It all worked out. He worked out a plan. It all worked perfectly. Kansas City didn't play that well, and they played into his hands in many ways. I do feel the other thing that does, in a blowout, you do look back at a few things. And as you said, the first two drives, we held them pretty well. And on one of them, there was a very, very near interception from Jalen Hurts, which could have changed the complete complexion of the game immediately. Because I think that's what it was a fortunate one not to have been interception. Now, had that change happened and gone the other way, then maybe the Eagles then would have started to play with a chip on their shoulder, and even in a blowout like that, about 3 or 4 minutes into the second quarter, it was still only a 10-point a game, and even though Kansas City weren't getting anywhere at all offensively, with this history of this team of coming back from so many 20-point deficits sometimes, even not lately, I admit, but it has a history. It's had a history of doing this. So you didn't actually feel as if it was the end, but it was at the end of this of the at halftime. Then you just realized after those two interceptions that was the end. There's no way you can come back from that distance, and especially when we came out with the ball at the beginning of the third quarter, the first play, just fell flat on his face, and there was no momentum, and it just deflated from there. Really, it's such a shame in many ways. I think let's also pause for a minute here and say hats off to Xavier Worthy for having a magnificent Super Bowl as a rookie. Did really well, and I'm looking forward to what's happening with him next year, especially when we'll have Rashid Rice back, which genuinely does fill me with a lot of excitement and expectation. And I, as I said earlier, I just got this feeling that the doom-mongers about people saying that this is the end of the Chiefs and they won't be back. I think I think they're all hoping more than saying anything else. I think we'll see a different Chiefs next year. I think that the other one thing that I'd like to say, which might be pertinent as well, is considering that the offense has spluttered for great parts of the season, and especially that it imploded in the Super Bowl. I just wonder whether where this leaves Matt Nagy, because maybe it's time for a new face, a new guy with ideas, and you can't just expect the defense to troll you out week after week or through another season. It's going to have to change, and we know that this Chiefs side is full of talent. A nice, healthy Pacheco, for example, back will make a heck of a difference. And I personally hope that we do see Travis Kelce back, even if it's only as a bit part player. But more than anything else, I think it'll be lovely for him to mentor Noah Gray, or even if we decide to go into free agency for trying to get a replacement for him as a tight end. Hard to think of somebody replacing him.
That's a lovely segue, actually. Because obviously you are going to have Rashid Rice back, and a Rashid Rice Xavier Worthy duo sounds very, very appealing, I have to say. Yes. Yeah. Let me just give you, and you can chime in on this as well. Let me just give you a list of some Chiefs key free agents going on that they're going to have to address, put it this way. First of all, you've got guard Trey Smith. You've got linebacker Nick Bolton, safety Justin Reed. You've got both wide receivers, Hollywood Brown, DeAndre Hopkins, who we knew that they only signed 1-year deals. You've got D lineman Charles Omenu, Kareem Hunt, Juju Smith-Schuster, Justin Watson, McCole Hardman, Josh Uche. I think you've got 15 or 20 free agents going on here. And I know, and just coming back to what you said a couple of minutes ago, I know the Chiefs, they've won in different ways. They've never, apart from Tyreek Hill, which they drafted, they haven't really had that superstar. Maybe Rashid Rice can be that star for them. However, they're going to have to do a lot of shopping this offseason. But the one thing that the Chiefs do very, very well is we know that they can draft well. Look at the defense. Pretty much all of them are either drafted or are on, let's be honest, not a massive contract. George Karlaftis through the draft. You've got Nick Bolton through the draft. He's going to be looking for a lot of money. What if you're Brett Veach now? What do you think that if you're a Chiefs roster, what do you need to target in the draft? Do you think?
All those names that you mentioned. They're big names, obviously, and they're all draftees as well. Nick Bolton, I'm actually a big fan of Nick Bolton, and like you mentioned, he will be looking for a lot of money, I think, and I think the Chiefs would be silly to let him go. Definitely. They got some work to do, but like you said, they're really good at drafting. I've not made a lot of research on this one, to be honest with you, but it's like I said, they've got a leader in Chris Jones as well, who is the backbone of that defense. I think he didn't really turn up obviously in the Super Bowl, but he has been the backbone for that defense for quite a few years now. But like you said, they can do it. they can draft. They draft really, really well. And just going back to the wide receivers as well, quickly, we mentioned Xavier Worthy. He's going to be a sensational wide receiver in the next coming seasons, definitely. And he scored that amazing touchdown at the end of the game as well. So he's got a bright future, definitely, 100%. I think the Chiefs will definitely bounce back, 100%. Whoever they get, they'll shop well, they'll draft well, and it won't be long before they're back in that Super Bowl picture again, 100%. I wouldn't let them out anytime soon. No way.
Just quickly, it's good that you mentioned that. What was it? 65-yard touchdown in the fourth quarter to Xavier Worthy. It's such a shame that was a blowout, because undoubtedly that will go down as one of the best throws in Super Bowl history. A 65-yard bomb. Xavier Worthy was in double coverage. An absolutely ridiculous throw and a ridiculous catch. So, Dad, do you think the Chiefs go out and shop for a number one wide receiver, or do you target a running back, or do you kind of, like you said, do you maybe get rid of someone like your OC, your pass coordinator, Matt Nagy, and do you have a complete rebuild in terms of that? Do you have some fresh ideas? Because we've seen that the Chiefs can win in different ways. They can adapt, and obviously, when you've got the brilliant offensive mind of Andy Reid as well, you'll be able. You think that this is a quick turnaround?
I think it's a quick turnaround. Yeah, I'm perfectly happy with keeping Worthy and Rice. Getting maybe I wouldn't mind getting Hollywood Brown back on another season if he would be willing, because I think there's big potential in him becoming that. He's your Sammy Watkins, the go-to guy who will just get you those 18 to 25 yarders that on third down. He would complement them rather well. I enjoyed having Kareem Hunt back, and I would love, for example, if he were to come back for another year. I think there's no doubt in my mind we have to keep Nick Bolton. Nick Bolton is an essential part of that team, and he will. I think they'll keep him. I've got a feeling they might let Trey Smith go. Just this feeling that they probably might think, okay, we can cover that. But as Guto has already mentioned, we do really do well. Brett Veach is good in the market. He can 9 times out of 10 sort things through the draft, and he's also pretty good at wheeling and dealing in free agency. It's going to be a season, an off season of lots of coming and going and toing and froing. But ultimately, I think, the great thing is people will want to come and play for the Chiefs. They will want to come and play with Patrick Mahomes. They will want to play under Andy Reid. If they're defensive side of the game, they will want to play for Spags. So, that's a great calling card for Kansas to have. I do feel quite confident about the way we are looking. It seems as if we do have the AFC, the way of beating most of the better sides in the AFC. Remember, this season we played all the major sides in the AFC. We played Buffalo twice. We beat each of them at least once, and I do feel confident that from an AFC point of view, we should be winning division and hopefully getting to at least the AFC Championship game again with what we have. Whatever happens on the NFC side. The other thing I feel is I genuinely thought that it would have been the Rams, because I think the Rams were the better all-round side, and until that one silly mistake where they turned the ball over, they were beating the Eagles as well, and I would have felt far less confident in beating the Rams because I think they've got a very, very good all-round side and they're exceptionally well coached. I think next year they will be somebody to really, really look out for. And I also like the look of Washington. I think Washington are in 2 or 3 years' time, they will be Super Bowl champs.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, we've only got a minute left. And thank you so much, Dad. Diolch yn fawr iawn. We'll definitely get you back on the pod. And I'm sure, like I said, I'm sure the Chiefs will bounce back. They'll regroup. They'll find a way. Guto, diolch yn fawr iawn. Thank you for your review as well. We were hoping that we'll be able to talk about Lewis Rees-Zammit as well, because we're still waiting for him to announce which team potentially he's going to be playing or trying to find a roster for the next season. We might have to do an emergency pod. Thank you so much for watching. Please watch our Super Bowl preview that was out on Monday as well. We are the NFL Cymru Podcast. We are on YouTube and Spotify. Like I said, we'll see you very, very shortly. Diolch yn fawr iawn.
Diolch yn fawr. Geraint, thank you very much for coming on the show. It's been good having you, and you'll definitely be coming back on again.
Diolch am y croeso. Thanks ever so much for the welcome. It's been great. Nice speaking, even though it was in defeat.